Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we are going to talk about a 3D printed innovation for the Adex Mace and Club system. The Adex Mace and Club system is probably one of the best possible values that you can get in athletic training. It is a system that allows you to micro-load clubs and maces so that you can start with a lightweight and build up to a heavyweight for the most important movements that humans do, the movements that truly define humanity. The movement patterns that define humanity are casting patterns, throwing patterns, the patterns that allow people to throw spears, that allow people to throw tomahawks, that allow people to use axes, that allow people to use hammers. All of those movement patterns are the things that define us. It's not just running, although humans are very, very good at running long distance, but most animals on the planet run. Not a lot of animals on the planet have thumbs, and the ones that do have thumbs do not use levers to build houses and build civilization. Humans do. Those movement patterns are well defined, but people in the modern world have kind of forgotten how and why to do them in training. It used to be people would do something like barbell lifting because they did all of their casting patterns in their daily life. So if you went back, say, 50 years ago and you looked at football players in the Midwest, a lot of those guys worked on farms or worked in factories, and they had casting patterns because they chopped things and they built things. And so when they went to the gym to train for their sport, they did deadlifts, they did squats, and they did bench press. In the modern world, people are no longer required to build things. The majority of the population is majority sedentary, and we've designed a civilization that allows us to be generally lazy and not have to do those movement patterns. When we lose those movement patterns, people get hurt. The body is no longer functioning the way that it's supposed to, and that makes people be in pain. 60% of the North American population has back pain, and that is directly linked to the loss of basic casting movement patterns. You can solve that problem by simply putting those movement patterns back in a logical and progressive way. The Adex Mace and Club system allows people to do that. It allows people to start with just a handle and practice patterns, and then add a small amount of weight to the system and start the math for the program over and learn again and learn again and learn again. So people can start with a lightweight and they can go to a heavyweight. Very much like Olympic lifting or barbell training, where you can micro load the barbell so that you can get very specifically stronger. You can add 1 pound to a 300-pound barbell and get a 301-pound barbell. The Adex system allows people to adjust in 1.25 pound increments. The original handle is about 3.5 pounds. The spindle that holds the weights on is 5 pounds. So you would go handle, spindle, 5 pounds, and then you can go add this 6.25 pounds, add a 2.5 pound weight and get 7.5 pounds. Put those together, get 8.75 pounds, get into adding a 5 pound weight to a 5 pound handle and spindle system and get 10 pounds. You can walk the system up to about 50 pounds. The idea is that we're micro loading so that we can work on the most important movement patterns and allow people to get enough experience with a light weight and then micro load it. As you micro load it, your movement patterns have to get a little bit better and you have to line up better. There is a minor problem with this system. It's that the length drastically changes based on the weights that you put on it. That means that the length of the lever changes between a short handle and a loaded club. That moves the center of mass away from your hand. That changes the way the lever works. We have some new innovations. These are 3D printed objects which take up the space of other weights so that we can add them to a club system and make the length of when the club is heavy, but have the club still be light. So this is a Wildman handle plus a spindle is 6 pounds, plus a 5 pound weight makes it 11 pounds. And we're not going to count the weight of the 3D printed thing right now because I don't know how much they weigh. But the length of the lever does drastically affect how heavy this feels. So we want people to start training as soon as possible with a long lever. These different sized spacers allow people to do that and to keep the length consistent as they go up in weight. These printed objects came to us from members of the Discord server. There's a Discord server down in the comments below this video, and you can sign up for that. And that has a discussion forum where people talk about videos on this channel and come up with innovations like this. So in the Adex system, we have 5-pound weights, and we can stack up a bunch of 5-pound weights. There's 15, there's 20, and we could get one more on there. I'm going to use a 2.5 and two 1.25s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and let's try and get one more on there, 26.25 plus the normal handle at 5 pounds makes this a 31-pound club. There we go. And 31 pounds is pretty hefty for most people. And it will take many people several years to get to the point where they can do 30 pounds with one hand. 30 pounds doesn't sound heavy, but 30 pounds in a lever is heavy. So we're going to pull out one of these 5s, put our weights back on, and add in our small spacer. 5, 10, 15, 20, 21.25 plus 5 is 26.25. But the length has stayed generally the same. We're going to pull out another 5, and two of the 2 5s will be about the length of the medium spacer. So we can add in all the weights. Now we have 5, 10, 15, 16.25 plus the handle at 5 pounds is 21.25. So we're going to keep being able to alter this down, but keep our length long. Let's lose another 5, 5, 10, and then we're going to add in another spacer. Now we have 5, 10, 11.25 plus the 5-pound handle is 16.25, and we have added 2 spacers in there, but we are maintaining the overall length. So this innovation that the gentleman on the Discord server has made is exactly what we need. I took an Adex Mace and club system and I gave it to a friend of mine who was in the military and got a spinal injury. He was on pain management for a long time. People said he couldn't be fixed. I disagree with that. I think that we can fix people by restoring basic human movement, but only if we can start light enough so that people don't get hurt. So we have to start way below the level at which they can get hurt, the fear reactivity level. If people start with a heavy weight, they get hurt, their brain gets afraid, they put the weight down, they never get any better. If we can start with just a handle and a spacer, and we can start with an extremely light weight that still is the appropriate lever, people can learn to move again. As they learn to move again, you remove the parking brake that's gone on in their brain. So this is an idea that we call fear reactivity. When people get hurt, the body pulls an e-brake. Think of it like an e-brake in a car. And it slows them down because it doesn't know how much they can move before they get hurt. The only way to get rid of that e-brake is therapy. The problem is therapy doesn't go far enough for the majority of people. You have to relearn all the correct movement patterns of the body. This applies mostly to just almost everybody in the modern world, because almost everybody in the modern world doesn't have full, natural, basic human movement patterns because we live in a generally easy place to live, at an easy time to live. When we get people to learn the most important movement patterns of the human body again with a light weight, they start to feel better nearly immediately. They get over the initial fear reactivity, they work on the movement pattern, they do a bunch of math, they do the numbers, they learn to move better by doing a lot of mini experiments, and then we add a little bit of weight to the system, and we add a little bit of weight to the system. The goal is to add such small amounts of weight that you stay below the level at which their body freaks out. And you do this over a long period of time. The first thing my buddy said when I gave him a club system without the spacers was, wouldn't it be great if we had spacers that didn't weigh anything so that the lever was correct? Great. Excellent. He understood immediately the length of the lever needed to be longer for him to learn better. The second I got these 3D spacers, I opened the box, I handed them right to him, and so now they are in testing with this gentleman with a spinal injury, and we're going to see just how good he can get, how good he can learn to move again. Because the military basically told him that he was never going to do stuff ever again, and they put him on disability and all this other stuff. The question is, do we accept that, or do we try to get better a little bit every day? And then do we create solutions to help people get a little bit better every day? This has just been a fun ranting video. We talk a lot about the background of this, to talk about how important this 3D printed innovation is and how it's going to affect training for a lot of people. It's a cool thing. Thank you to the guys over at the Discord server for taking the time to design these things and print them and send them out. And hopefully we can get them out to more people faster in the future.